little bit more coffee, if you don't mind. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Welcome everybody to The Candle Enthusiast. This is Aromatically Speaking. This is a live stream where I, go figure, go live and unbox a bunch of candles, share with you my thoughts, my opinions, my sensory evaluation. And today we are going to be unboxing something that I've been looking forward to for a while. I've been putting it off. For actually quite a while. This company in general. That's going to be Bath and Body Works. People are always asking, number one question. Maybe not number one, but very close too. Why do you not talk about Bath and Body Works candles? Do you not like Bath and Body Works, Shane? Well, that's not the case. I've had nothing but pleasant experiences with Bath and Body Works every time I've burned their candles, and I actually do have one. You can't see it, but it is burning in the back. I have it far away because I don't want it to mess with my sniffing of these candles. So I just want to welcome everyone for joining. Like I said, we are live, so I can read your comments in real time. You'll see my reactions in real time. I want to move through these quick so that, if you are new to the channel, and if you are, make sure you subscribe. Hit that subscribe button down below so you don't miss any of the upcoming content. But I want to make sure that I'm moving quickly. And then we will have an after show on my second channel, Aromatically Speaking. Now, I said Aromatically Speaking was the name of the show. I apologize. I said the wrong name of my show. It's Smell It Sunday. Why? Because it's Sunday. But we will have that after show on my second channel, Aromatically Speaking. So make sure you check out that link for that second channel in the description below. Let's get in this. Very first step is to pull you guys up so I can see what you're doing, what you're talking about. Here we are. And I'm getting an ad. And I'm skipping it. You know, the few pennies that YouTube or Google gives YouTube creators. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I see the comments. Everyone in the house. Hello, everyone. I don't want to ignore anyone. But like I said, I do want to get through this quickly. And if you are joining in, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. It really does help. So Bath and Body Works, are we ready? I took advantage of the $10 off 3-wick tumblers from Bath and Body Works. You know, I put up a recommendation list on the Facebook group, the Candle Enthusiast Facebook group, and I asked you guys, what candles should I get? Mainly, what candles are new this year? I'm such a newbie. I'm such an amateur when it comes to Bath and Body Works candles. I don't know all this information that you guys know. You guys know which candles have been repackaged, which ones sell similar, which ones are classics, which ones are relatively new. I don't know any of that, to be honest with you, except for my very, very little experience with the company. So I took your recommendations, and I got one or two that spoke to me, but I haven't read the fragrance notes. This is key. This is important. This is why I'm doing these live unboxings, because although I'm going to try, I really think I will be doing, because I spent the money on these candles. I want to make individual in-depth evaluations of these videos, but that's not what I'm doing right now. I can't do an in-depth evaluation because that takes some time. Sometimes it takes me a good half hour. Sometimes it takes me a day with a candle to really get a good read of what the candle's all about, for me to interpret the concept, if there is one, to the candle. This is just an initial first reaction. Don't want to cut anything that's inside. I love that about Bath and Body Works. The inside of the boxes. It's a nice little touch. Okay, I'm going to put this on the floor. So I don't want to drop this, but we can see we have, how many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 candles to talk about today. Woo. And I'm just going to pick these at random. First one out of the box. This is one, honestly, that I was I won't say most intrigued by, but maybe one of the reasons why I decided to do this. Fun concepts like this, for me, is what yummy candles are all about. They are nostalgic, they are fun, they are family friendly. The kids will love it. Hopefully, folks of all age will love it. And you guys recommended it. So let me give this a sniff. I have come prepared. Usually you'll see me with my blowtorch or my creme brulee torch to heat up the wax just a little bit to release some of the fragrance oils. But because Bath & Body Works has a softer wax, their own, what they call vegetable soy paraffin blend. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's another thing, guys. Correct me, please, if I say anything wrong. I'm fully admitting I am way out of my element here. So on the label there, we have not a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but we have a donut, at least what we would believe to be a donut. It is covered in peanuts and some form of jelly, compote, jam, preserves, some kind of red fruit topping, with other confectionery goodies on top. I don't know if that's a glaze or what we would call that. But look at that label. One thing I've always been impressed by with Bath & Body Works and White Barn is their presentation. On top we have an aluminum lid. What is that? That looks, that's a pumpkin with some leaves, some vegetation growing from there, embossed on this glossy lid with the rubber gasket glued inside. Is it glued? Yes, it is. There's adhesive. What is it? Let's smell this. Let me just do this. This is a heat gun. This has no flame. This is like using a hair dryer, a blow dryer, only there's not a big fan. It's going to add a little bit of heat to this wax, and what this will do is actually volatilize. What is volatilize? Well, it's going to turn those fragrance oils into vapor, just like what happens when you burn the candle. And you see, I had the lid on, and I don't want to melt the wax, I just want to warm it up. You know how your candles smell really, really good during the summer months, when it's just a little bit warmer compared to when the glass is ice cold? And it's just because of the heat. Here we go. All right, I have to move quick here. So a brown sugar, this definitely to me smells like a sweet treat, a pastry, something that we would get maybe in the airport. Cinnabon, maybe. TJ Cinnamons, cinnamon rolls, even homemade cinnamon rolls, or the Pillsbury crack the canister, make your own dinner rolls. And the reason why that particular is coming to me first is because of the combination of the sweetness and this gentle spice. What does gentle mean? What is a gentle spice? Well, you take pure ground Saigon cinnamon out of the spice cabinet or the spice rack, whatever you use, and you smell it. Or even better, a cinnamon stick, and you smell that compared to the cinnamon sugar that's pre-mixed inside the little McCormick's jar. Big difference. One is spicy, not hot spicy, but one is that, big explosive baking spice, and the other one has that, it smells like that soft cinnamon toast that, my mom would make for me when I was homesick from school. But there's a cakiness to this. There's a cakey, maybe I should say doughy, dough. The reason why I'm not immediately thinking dough is I'm not smelling yeast. Usually when we're dealing with a dough or bread, you have that, whether the dry yeast or that smell of fresh baked bread. Even when you're smelling a donut, you get that yeastiness. So more of a doughy than cakey, but without that yeast. So dry roasted peanuts, is coming to mind. I mean, I'm trying to think of I would imagine something like peanut butter, right? Skippy, Jif, Peter Pan, whatever you use, even the all-natural stuff. I'm not necessarily getting that decadent, really rich, concentrated smell of peanut butter. That, if it was in any candle, you would most certainly smell it right away, but maybe like this, the smell of the can of Planters peanuts, not the honey roasted, not the ones that are covered in oil and salt, but the ones that are dry roasted. But because there's that pastry, because there is that savoriness, and because of the sweetness, I mean, let's face it, this is a baked good candle. I'm not going to deny that. It almost smells to me a little bit like peanut brittle. I like that combination. Instead of just saying dry roasted peanuts, let's do that butter infused, crispy, crunchy, very brittle peanut brittle. What's the name of the company? What's the name of the one in the airports? You guys know what I'm talking about. Now here's where I'm at a loss. The fruit, the jelly. I mean, this is a PB&J. Where's the J? Now remember, I'm just smelling these cold, guys. All this stuff, I know you might be saying, you'll smell it when you burn it. You smell it when you burn it. I'm just smelling these cold. Initial reaction. But I will say that if I wasn't looking for the fruit, I might not even try to find it, and I might not come up with anything. But the more I kind of, blow those more aggressive notes off the top of this, there's I guess I would classify this, if anything, a fresh red fruit. Fresh raspberry, like raspberries out of the little basket at the farmer's market. There's nothing concentrated about this fruit. There's nothing cooked down about this fruit. There's nothing, this is not a candified kind of fruit. So I'm interested to see, because to me this on cold is what I would consider a medium minus intensity candle. Now I just don't have enough experience burning Bath and Body Works to know if how this will perform. I mean, there's 3 wicks in these babies, and that's a lot of surface area with these candles, and so these could output a lot of fragrances. They could magnify the stifled fragrances that are inside when they're lit. I'm trying to keep you guys over here so I can read those comments. I see a good one right here by Danny. I have one PB&J and I definitely get a cologne note on cold. That is so interesting. Please don't let me forget that comment, because something I have to say about Bath and Body Works in general. I might want to state that later, but I want to smell a couple more. But burning it is crazy nutty and sweet goodness for anyone who is wondering. And Danny says the perfumey note goes away when burning. Okay, so the perfumey note, let me address that real quick. I don't want to get off topic, but this is, like I said, a proprietary blend of wax. They don't list exactly what's in this wax, but paraffin wax is nearly scentless. When you stick your nose right up against paraffin, you really can't smell it. Sometimes it smells like a crayon if it's warm, right? But for the most part, it's scentless. Soy wax, vegetable wax, palm wax, coconut, you name it, right? These waxes have aroma. They smell. So when we're in the store and we're smelling the candles cold, that perfumey note that you may smell it could be the wax. Soy wax, smell straight up soy wax with no fragrance. It kind of smells like shea butter. It has that body lotion, bath and body product aroma to it. So that's why it's a shame that you really can't get a read off smelling the lid of a Bath and Body Works candle. But sometimes when you have your nose on that wax, you're quite literally smelling the wax. And when the fragrance becomes airborne, that aroma of the wax will not linger with the fragrance oil. So, to me, initial impression is that this could go by several different names. What really doesn't stand out for me, but, Danny was saying that the nuttiness really comes through. That's something, I get nuttiness, but I don't necessarily get the peanut butter, again, decadence. And PB&J, man, I mean, strawberry jelly, grape jelly, Concord, so many ways. Or if this is a donut concept, I mean, think about not just a drizzle, but think about a jelly donut, right? Jelly donut has a completely different aroma altogether. I mean, depending on how it's made, and especially what kind of filling is inside. But to me, this is in that cinnamon bun, very light cinnamon sugar, brown sugar, and really more of that baked cakey dough. Okay, so cakey is the adjective, dough is the noun. Very cool. Very cool. Let me find a place to put this. And what do they put on the Cinnabon? Eric's in the house. Maybe he can tell me. The Cinnabon. What is that frosting, right? I mean, it's some concoction of confectioner's sugar. Maybe there's like vanilla extract in there. And, but what is the base? Is it cream cheese? It's got to be cream cheese or some form of that, right? Kind of fluffed up. And, maybe I should have focused on that a little bit more, said more about that frosting, because that was really the first thing I was picking up. Where do I put these? All right. we're going to move on to candle number 2. Again, guys, talk amongst yourselves. I really would love to read each and every comment, but I really want to move through these quickly, and I'll answer any questions during the after show. It's a beautiful day outside, but it's a little warm inside the studio here. All right, so this was a very popular... Oh, should I read the fragrance notes of that candle? I'm sorry. I should do this now. Okay, good. Okay. Fresh. This is for the PB&J. These are Bath and Body Works fragrance notes. Fresh strawberry jam. Toasted bread. Okay. Yeah. Crunchy peanut butter. The crunchy kind? Yes, the crunchy kind. A drizzle of honey. Okay. With essential oils. With essential oils. Does that mean with essential oils, meaning in addition to? Or are some of these things mentioned, like the jam, the toasted bread, the peanut butter, are those the essential oils? Essential oils, huh? Interesting. I wonder if that's common. I guess we'll find out. Let's get back here. All right. Pumpkin clove. Again, popular request. This is probably, for me personally, not one that I would jump to off the shelf. Based purely on the name. You know, I'm always trying to find... I love that photograph, though. I'm always trying to find something a little bit different when it comes to the traditional baking spice, pumpkin spice, I should say, candles. But let's see. I mean, maybe that's not what this is at all. We have that maple leaf embossed on the top there. I don't want to just skim over that stuff. It's a really nice touch. And it looks like they're... Okay, some are the same, but they look like they're different. I'm going to skip the heat gun. I'm going to wait to sniff it first. So, pumpkin clove. Not pumpkin and clove. Pumpkin clove. Who has this one? Who is burning this one? Tish E says, no cream cheese in my candles, please. Okay, well, they're not kidding about the clove. That's not an exaggeration. And when it comes to pumpkin spice, not pumpkin, they're not exaggerating with that either. The clove is certainly, if it's standing side by side at the forefront of this candle with that cinnamon stick. So in contrast to this, the light cinnamon sugar from the last candle, this is that spicier cinnamon. This is that more aggressive. You know, something, a cinnamon that you would smell up close, and maybe get a little bit sneezy. Really, really powerful stuff. And so powerful, in fact, that it's almost like a steeped cinnamon stick. And that clove is there, but this could easily be called pumpkin cinnamon clove. And let's continue. There's no question there's ginger in this candle, and there might even be some more spices. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I mean, I'm going to skip nutmeg because sometimes I throw that in there by default. I'm not picking up nutmeg, but allspice, maybe, star anise, maybe. But for the most part, I mean, you can't put all these in the name of the candle. But my point is that from my very first sniff till my very last sniff so far, this is a traditional baking spice, or excuse me, a pumpkin spice combination. Pumpkin spice, you can add anything you want. There is no definition, there is no definitive recipe of pumpkin spice, but it's usually the cinnamon, nutmeg, the ginger, and with these days, people almost always use clove. Now, let's try to talk about pumpkin. Do I smell pumpkin? You know, I don't smell pumpkin like a raw pumpkin or a cooked pumpkin as much as I smell something like roasted chestnuts or just a warm chestnut smell. It's not a smell that we're all, even myself, that we're all very familiar with. I mean, you may be incredibly familiar with chestnuts. We never roasted chestnuts on an open fire when I was a kid. We just didn't do that. But from my experience, a roasted chestnut has that sweet potato, yam, butternut squash savoriness to it. So I would say more on the nutty side. And what's great about something like that is that whether I'm smelling chestnut, whether I'm smelling something like a yam, a prepared yam on Thanksgiving, what it kind of does with our imagination fills in the blanks. We start thinking of that forest floor covered with the acorns. Acorns, just they don't. Just to be, I mean, I know there's always someone who's going to say differently. For the most part, they don't have an aroma. Yes, they do have an aroma. You can smell them up close, but it's not something that we can identify with. Not nearly like something like a peanut or a walnut or a pecan. And speaking of pecan, that's interesting because I'm digging deep here, guys. You know, there's some vanilla, there's some milkiness here, some like warm milk, and with that nuttiness, I'm trying to like paint a portrait. And what's coming to my mind is that pumpkin spice latte that we get at our favorite coffee shop in autumn. And we get to the end of that latte. Say we get it in the cup. We can get it in the mug, but sometimes on the bottom of that cup or that mug, all of those spices settle to the bottom, right? So on the bottom, we just have a little bit of that foam, a little bit of that milk, that cream, the savoriness of the milk fat, and that ground collection of spices. This is not a coffee smell. This is not even a coffee shop smell. To me, it's just a very heavy, clove-driven pumpkin spice aroma. That is very pretty. I don't want to make it sound like, by any means, this is a poor candle. But to me, and the reason why I said that this is probably one I wouldn't gravitate towards when I'm shopping, is because this is kind of what I would expect from a candle like this, and that's not a bad thing. That's not wrong. You got to have something for everybody, and some people, many people, need a candle like this for autumn. But to me, it's just I'd like a little bit more boldness, something a little bit more. We're gonna switch it up. We're gonna change it. We're gonna take what you know about pumpkin spice, and we're gonna give you a whole different angle. We're gonna shine a whole different light on pumpkin spice, something that you've never smelled before. To me, that's something that would intrigue me. This is something that we can probably obtain from any of our favorite candle companies. Something more or less similar to this. Am I too far off base? Does anyone think I'm off base here? Where's my coffee? I need to drink some water too. I never smell pumpkin in any pumpkin candle. I have fragrance oils that are just pumpkin and still don't smell like it. Leslie, this is a topic that every Halloween comes up, and you know it more than I do. People always ask, what is the best, not pumpkin spice candle, but pumpkin candle? I want a candle that smells like I just cut into that pumpkin, making my jack-o'-lantern on Halloween night. That smell of the innards, the seeds, all of that ooey gooey goodness that we're going to roast. Not all of it, but the seeds we're going to roast with some cayenne pepper and some coarse sea salt, if I can make a suggestion there. But all that stuff that we're going to roast later on. And yeah, it's just not something that's really up to the fragrance oil industry. Whether, I mean, it's you can't distill something like that. You can't, through reverse osmosis, create this kind of fragrance. It's not you can't create a distillate of that pumpkin gourd. And this goes for many things. I'm always wishing I can smell minerality, that's a word, minerality, rocks, and different kind of rocks, pebbles, pebbles that we find in streams, or chalky soil that we'll find in vineyards in France, or really fertile soils that we'll find in our herb gardens. It's just not something that the fragrance oil, because fragrance oil is made in the lab, and for the most part, they are made of organic materials, but they are they're not derived from the actual item themselves. So if something smells like strawberry, it's not necessarily the fragrance oil made from a strawberry. So with that said, there are several candles that I have smelled that have that strong pumpkin gourd smell, but I've never smelled one with only that pumpkin gourd smell. I just smelled one, and a huge shout out to Lunar Light Candle Company. Oh God, I believe it should say, if you look them up, and please do, I think they just did a restock of their Halloween. They have a candle called October 13th. I believe that's the one that did have that pumpkin gourd aromatic. But there's more to that candle than just the pumpkin, the raw pumpkin. Let's keep this going. Get some more water, if you don't mind. How are we doing in the comments? I gotta scroll down. Oh, fragrance notes. Please, I'm gonna forget this all the time. So for the pumpkin clove buds, ground cinnamon, okay, a pinch of nutmeg, fresh pumpkin with essential oils. This essential oils thing is I find that just to be a little bit confusing. Not necessarily for me, but I mean, do you guys read that and get confused? I mean, I'm confused, but you know, these fragrance notes on the bottom, they should be consumer friendly. So this way people can understand what the candle smells like without actually having to smell it. And just by putting essential oils, it makes it sound like it's just more special, but it doesn't tell you what it smells like. Essential oils are derived from the actual item. That's the difference between fragrance oils and essential oils. So, high quality colognes, perfumes, for example, many are going to be made, at least in part, with essential oils. That's why they're so much more expensive, and the reason why they're so much more perishable. They don't last as long. I had to get this one. Oh, let me get to this. I promise I'll do my best to pick up the speed. Banana cream pie. I just want to get a focus on that. It's just, I'm really not liking the close focus range of this webcam. I'm gonna have to one of these days get a better one. What we have there is that that meringue on top of what could only be a crust. Looks like it has some nuts on top, pecans, walnuts, and has that same embossed lid as the PB&J. Who has this one? I'm sorry, when I laugh, that looks really rude. That's a bad reaction. I did that with wine sometimes. I laugh, and that's not a good thing to do when you're standing by the winemaker. I laugh because this stuff that I'm not expecting. With that said, let me start talking before I forget any of this. So, super ripe banana. If you're thinking about a plantain, forget about it. If you're thinking about a banana that's slightly green, forget about it. If you're thinking about just a perfectly ripe yellow banana, forget about it, right? This is that banana that is so, and please don't let this gross you out. Just hear me out. I'm just trying to create good communication here. This is that banana on the fruit bowl, on the kitchen table that's almost completely black, and we're like, wow, I gotta eat this now, throw it in a smoothie, or freeze it, or I gotta throw this thing away before the fruit flies come. Here's the thing, black bananas, although they're black and they may not look attractive, they're incredibly delicious. A lot of you probably know this, but if you haven't had one of these bananas that are on this riper side, give it a try. It's a taste that's completely different, and it's simply because of oxidation. The oxygen is leaking inside through that banana peel. It's changing the color, just like how apple juice turns brown or gold. Same kind of process. Oxidation changes the flavor while the fruit is continuing to ripen. So what this means is you're going to get an enormous amount of sugar development inside of those ripe bananas. Way more sugar than if it were slightly green. But the aroma is different. Now, with that said, there is a definitive super ripe banana. Reminds me of like a smoothie, because that's what I do with my older bananas. Freeze them or throw them into smoothies, or do both, freeze them and then throw them into smoothies. But there is an artificial but very fun banana aroma here, and man, this is an aroma that or this is a descriptor that I use. I wish I could use it more, but I use quite a bit. Runts banana candy. Yes. Citric acid, malic acid is what's inside of that Runts candy that makes it tart, but it still tastes like a banana. However, when you eat a banana, the last thing you think about is tartness. Bitterness, astringency, maybe, but not tart, and certainly not sour. So this has that candy banana aroma that has the addition of that citric acid. What is another good one? One that's not necessarily tart, but another good artificial banana candy flavor is banana Laffy Taffy. Now I know a lot of you are probably like, oh, I hate those. I hate that all the way. I don't know what to say. If you don't like real bananas or the aroma of real bananas, and if you're not a big proponent of enjoying a banana flavored candy, you might want to give this one a sniff. Check it out, but it's probably not going to end up in your basket by the end of your trip at Bath and Body Works. Let's keep going though. It's just so hard to put that that banana, because now I just have to ignore that banana. Let me add a little bit of heat to this. This is not a weak, or I shouldn't say weak. It's not a light candle. It's pretty intense, pretty strong. This is a solid medium plus candle. $13, Amazon. I'm telling you, just get it. Wow, okay, wow. So a lot just came out there. So I'm going to attribute that tartness to something I didn't think I was going to say. Lemon, and then with the meringue on the label, thinking of that lemon meringue pie. So think about the lemon filling inside of that lemon meringue pie, right? That gelatinous, ooey gooey, very sweet and tart filling. You add tons of sugar to that filling, so it really balances out the tartness of the lemon. But let's switch gears. Shift gears. This is a pie, and I definitely smell this element to the candle. So pie crust, we can say that, but let's really try to like narrow this down. It's, just like really focus in on it for a second. I don't want to sound like I'm using terms that are too pretentious or pompous, but this is kind of important when we talk about bakery candles. Maillard reaction. Okay, so if you are a baker, if you if you're a chef, you're a cook, or you spend a lot of time in the kitchen, if you watched a lot of the Food Network show, you might hear this term all the time. Maillard reaction. Maillard reaction is a non-enzymatic browning of anything, but in the culinary world, it's food. So when you say, caramelize those onions until they're a golden brown, you could say caramelize those onions to, or let me not use that example because caramelization is this is so bad, man. I had one opportunity to make this sound like I know what I'm talking about. Let's put the caramelization off to the side because that's actually a slightly different process. Let's talk about a toasted piece of bread. That toasted piece of bread, when it gets brown, before it gets black and burnt, it's a non-enzymatic browning, meaning the heat is literally changing the flavors of the bread. It's not just making it crispy, crunchy. When you have a golden pie crust, same thing. Why am I talking about Maillard reaction? Well, if I took a big hunk of dough, of pastry dough, cookie dough, whatever it may be, and had you smell it, you would smell more of the dry ingredients, and maybe, of course, some of the wet ingredients as well, but you would smell the rawness of that dough. But when we bake it, there's that Maillard reaction, that cooking, that baking, that toasting, that browning, the crust is getting crispy and crunchy and flaky, and that is what's important, because when you take that pie crust out of the oven, it's going to smell different than dough. This is why it's important for me to say Maillard reaction. I hope it doesn't sound too pretentious or pompous. I've already proven to you that I know only half of what I'm talking about because I just compared Maillard reaction to caramelization. But my point is, what I'm smelling is, I just hope I have the right name for these. Danish butter cookies. I mean, I know what Danish butter cookies are, but I'm talking about specifically the ones that come in like the tin can and like they're stacked inside of like the little paper cups. You know what I'm talking about? Are those Danish butter cookies? But they're like pecan sandies. They're not they're not chewy, they're not dense, they're this crispy, crumbly kind of cookie that when you smell it, no question you're smelling that butter, but you're also tasting and getting that perceived aroma of saltiness and tons and tons and tons of sugar. And that's what this smells like. This smells like that one of those cans of those cookies. You know, the big granules of the cane sugar. And is it weird if I say this? I don't think it's weird, and I don't care if it's weird. I smell a little bit of cornstarch. Again, it's a lot of, you know, with this candle, I guess the first one, getting some of the dry ingredients as well. Now, when we talk about that meringue, I don't know if I smell meringue. Meringue's not a big aromatic thing. It's a flavorful thing, but it's not a big aromatic thing. But when you think about meringue, I mean, it's just egg whites and sugar whipped together, get those stiff peaks. You throw that on to the pie, and then you take that creme brulee torch and you just caramelize. See, a different process. You caramelize that meringue on top of the pie. So, although I'm not say I would smell that, I would say that instead of that, there's certainly a creamy factor here. We could say evaporated milk. We could say whole milk. Some kind of dairy component. There's got to be vanilla in some capacity here. There's got to be vanilla because to me, I'm smelling the vanilla. If I'm thinking about the cookie, I'm thinking about the vanilla. If I'm thinking about the creamy side of this candle, I'm even smelling the vanilla when I'm thinking about the banana candy when I smell this. So I'll be honest. I love Runts candies. Banana Runts candies, and I love really ripe bananas. And you know, this is something I would enjoy. To me, this is a much more like the name says it all. We're gonna read those fragrance notes in a second. Well, let's actually do it right now. Fresh banana slices, whipped cream, scoop of peanut butter. I don't smell that. Do you guys get that? Banana bread, bananas. And Eric says the banana runts were the killjoy of a handful of runts. And Nicole says, I love desserts. And Christina says, I love this candle. I have to agree with Christina. This is one I not only am really digging right now, but this is something like I would be all set immediately to burn this. And I just may. So let me read that again. Fresh banana slices, whipped cream, a scoop of peanut butter, cookie crumble crust with essential oil. So is that just in every candle now with essential oil? Essential oils, plural. Again, if it sounds like I'm being negative, please don't take it that way. Just all of this is new to me. And I see a comment about peanut butter. And why can't I read it? No, I don't get the peanut butter, says Jennifer. Yeah, the peanut butter is the one thing. Otherwise, I think the description is right on point. A little bit of the like a coconutty thing going on. Can I say coconutty? And not like a coconut shampoo. Maybe a little bit of suave action. A little bit of suave. I'm just kidding. Coconut cream. So not coconut milk, not coconut water, right? Coconut cream. Get it in a can. It's not what we use. I don't think so anyway. you know, I use coconut milk for making like curries and stuff like that. Coconut cream is a much more dense substance. Bam. So far, that is one I'm really enjoying. What do you guys think? Which ones are you hoping that I'm going to be pulling out of the box here? I smell peanut butter just a tad when I'm burning, not on cold. I think it makes... I can't read the bottom of your comment yet. So maybe that peanut butter comes out when we burn it. I'm not going to argue that, because like I said, my real expertise or my time spent on smelling candles cold has really been, you know, a lifelong passion of Yankee Candle. Sorry for Bath and Body Works fans if that word or words, Yankee Candle, is a bad word to you. Let's just coexist. Let's just coexist, man. All those bumper stickers, they can't be wrong. This one, again, was probably the highest, most highly recommended out of everything. And it's a beautiful tumbler. I mean, a beautiful jar. But by the name, at least, I probably would not have gone with this. But I'm just taking a close look at that label. Like, really get in there close. That is legit, you know, weathered, tattered, some kind of, you know, like barn, I guess farmhouse. It looks like a little silo barn with this chrome or silver embellishment, like a leaf rubbing. Something like you do in art class, right? Take a leaf and you rub it with a crayon or something. On the top, oh yeah, look at that. That's probably the first thing I noticed when I open up the box. That, I'm trying to think of how this is done. So I should be holding it like this. So old, like early 20th century, or no, maybe much older than that. I'm going to say early 19th century barns. This was a technique of putting siding on the barn. I hope I'm correct about this. But instead of putting the panels on horizontally and layering the siding shingles like this, like one on top of the other, up in the other, it was just the opposite. They were vertical, and one slab would lay on top of the slab underneath it. If any of you are barn aficionados, you let me know. But either way, that's a really cool top and a really great idea for this candle. Let's give this one a sniff. Alright, I'm gonna need you guys here for this one. So if you have this candle, please, I'm gonna do my best. I may not be able to repeat what you say, but I'll try to read what you guys are saying. Wow, this is just absolutely... Yeah, I was gonna hold off on saying it, but I'm just gonna say it. This is gorgeous. This is really, really nice. It's just amazing how just for me personally, and this is just an example of how we're all different, how I just gravitate towards candles that, you know, are a little bit more grungy, you know, down to earth, you know. And what I mean by down to earth, I literally mean down to earth, you know, smell a little bit more of like we have, we're outside and our face is on the forest floor and we're smelling all of those things. that's wisping around in the wind. Let me try not to be so whimsical here. Let me just break this down. First, foremost, I was going to say blue spruce. Forget about that. I'll address the cooling sensation of this later. I'm going to go definitely balsam fir, and there's a reason why. But there's a lot, if you're looking at coniferous trees, Christmas trees, softwoods, there's tons of different varieties and species. I'm not the person to be talking about it. I know the difference between hemlocks and cypress and the pines and the spruces and the firs, but I trust me, I'm not going to pretend like I know about this topic in depth. But what I can say, and I know this, or at least been said to me many times, that the balsam fir tree, which is, if I'm not mistaken, I mean, it's kind of readily found in the Northeast or the Northwest in Canada, that it is, when it's freshly cut, it is the most fragrant of all style of Christmas trees. And I needed to say that. Again, I was going to go with blue spruce, but then the intensity of this candle demands that I say balsam fir for several reasons, but mainly because of that smell when we're cutting down the Christmas tree. A lot of people would smell this, and I would assume they would be like, "Ooh, it smells like the bark." Bark doesn't really have anything to smell. I mean, it's a pretty way to describe it, but really what we're thinking about is when that alive tree is cut, it's severed. It's kind of sad, but that's what it smells like. It's so bombastically fresh. And let's not just talk about the wood here. What's going on inside of the wood, right? The sap, right? If you ever see these big bulbous, just really gooey, crystallized sap. I don't really know how to call them. They can look like bulges, they can crystallize, or they can drip. It looks like straight up urethane. Sometimes it's a cloudy white color, but this sap coming out of the tree is, like you would imagine, incredibly aromatic. And this, sap and coniferous trees has been used for medicinal uses. I don't know if it actually has medicinal properties, but for hundreds of years, especially the Native Americans, used this stuff for just about anything. Put it on anything. A cut, a rash, whatever you may have, you're going to wake up and you're going to be okay. But this stuff is so concentrated. But there is a brightness here. There's a brightness. What do I mean by brightness? There's a tartness. What smells tart when we talk about coniferous trees? Coniferous trees, pine tree. If that's just a fancy word again for the group of trees. Just think of a pine tree, right? Just think of a pine tree. What smells bright? We could say the pine cones. We could say that sap. We could say some of the needles have a citrusy component. But juniper berries, if you've ever had the pleasure, the luxury to pick juniper berries, smell them, or use them for culinary purposes, it's the number one ingredient besides citrus that's used for distilling gin, the spirit, juniper berries. It has this fresh, green, citrusy, big-time lemon aroma, and that's all coming through. So we have this rustic balsam fir aroma that's heavily concentrated, the sappiness, but it's going to be contrasted by that brightness, that citrus quality of the juniper berry. Let's not end there. Let's keep it going with the trees, because one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to say balsam fir is because of And I actually am not too familiar with these. I've always seen them, and I've been gifted a few of them, but I haven't actually used them too much. The company Paines, Paines, the little log cabins, the incense, right? Those little rods of compressed biomass, right? So that they use other varieties of trees, but I'm assuming the main tree that they use is the balsam fir tree, and essentially what that means is the biomass, they're just throwing that into a wood chipper. I mean, even more finely grained than that. They're chopping it up, and they're compressing it. They're compressing it to make those little incense sticks. So when you smell those incense sticks, not when they're lit, but when you smell right out of the box, and the box is made of cedar as well. A little bit of what's going on here. For me, more specifically, same company, but one of the aromas that always brings me back to childhood is when my parents would take me to Lake George, New York every summer, and we walk into all of those boutiques and gift shops. You know, there's so many of them, right? And they all would sell those sachets, those little sachets filled with, I didn't know what it was inside when I was a kid. But it essentially is, I mean, you could put anything in a sachet, but the ones that I remember is that biomass from the balsam fir. And when that stuff dries out, the older it gets, right, concentrates and concentrates and concentrates. I believe I still have one of those sachet pillows from when I was a kid, like 8 years old, that still is somewhat fragrant or aromatic. It's still maintained its fragrant properties, but there is just such a distinct smell of smelling a tree in that form, and its dehydrated, chopped up, homogenized form. That's just like nothing else. And for me, the association I have brings me back to a very specific place. I mean, obviously that's unique to me, but that is something I want to highlight, just because that's one thing I really love about candles, is that one person's experience will never be the same as another person's experience. Yeah, incense sticks, and those sachets. Let's try to keep this going, because there's more. I just have to remember what I was going to say. So first thing is, I'm already going out and saying, I think this candle is fantastic. For me, for me personally, I know there's tons of people who this might be too heavy of a candle, just might be way too aggressive. But for me, this is absolutely lovely. And something else, cedar. So cedar and firewood. I think a lot of people are also not just going to think about a freshly cut down tree. And what's going to make this not a Christmas candle, or at least not just a Christmas candle, is this smell of dried, split cedar wood. So, I used to stay in this cabin up in Lake Placid, New York. It was, like my getaway cabin when I was in college. I'd go there over the weekend, or, I'd schedule my classes so I could spend some time up there and just unwind. And sometimes, and I would love this, we would get snowed into this cabin. And even if we wanted to, up in Lake Placid has their own rules when it comes to snow. You're not going anywhere. Snow drifts, you'd get, abandoned for a couple days in the cabin, but this was great. However, in that snowstorm, you had to go outside a good distance, mind you. We had, there was an outdoor fire, I'm trying to think of a good word for it, a firewood shed, whatever it is, a little covered shed where all of the cords of wood would be stacked, and you had to hike this stuff back into the cabin. But when you stepped of that shed, and I'm talking about the winter here, but think about the warm summer months when the heat is just, and the sun is roasting that firewood. The smell of walking into that fire shed was so intense. So, point being is that there is a difference between a freshly alive cut down tree and a dried out dead tree, cedar firewood. That cedar firewood with no smoke can easily in our minds bring us right to the fireplace, and that's exactly what's happening. When you smell this, I think a lot of people are immediately going to be brought outdoors, but maybe just as many people are going to be brought inside to the hearth, to that fireplace, and around that fireplace. Yeah, no question. So there might be a name for something like this. Yankee Candle had a candle, or at least a label. What was the candle called? Spicy, zesty orange. Help me out, guys. Zesty orange something garland. I don't know. I can't remember the full name. There's 4 words. But pictured was a cinnamon stick on a string. Cinnamon sticks, dried out orange slices, and sage. Bam. Couldn't be more spot on. Replace that orange with lemon, and maybe forget about the cinnamon. I mean, maybe a little bit of spice. Let's throw a little bit of, the spiciness. No, I just don't get it. I mean, I'll address that later. But that fresh, I shouldn't say fresh, the dried out sage leaves with that citrus. You know how great citrus and sage go together. With, let's say, a tad of spice. I don't want to not say spice, because I have a strong feeling there's no way they're not going to say spice on this candle. But for me, it's not something that's jumping out. And there's a mintiness in here too, like a fresh mint. Not kidding. So, and that to me can only mean one thing: that mint is trying to provoke the idea of cold, right? Mintiness, cooling sensation. I always say it, but it's true. I mean, this to me is like in depth, like in the depths of winter. This could be called, what's the famous candle? Sweater weather? Well, this could be called blizzard weather. This candle. But it definitely smells like you're inside of a farmhouse, a New England house, very old. I could just see the planks of wood and the ancient brick around the fireplace. Again, that sage, oak moss. Did I say that? Something I thought of before. There is that green, that sage, mint, oak moss, that adds the freshness to this, with also that fresh side of the balsam fir. I can't. Wow. What do you guys think? This I hope it's translating, but I really think this one is really unique, and how fitting that it's my favorite looking jar so far. Madeline says, love the pine smell from the incense cones. Have a log cabin. I have a log cabin from my last childhood summer vacation in upstate New York. Very cool. Totally agree with you, Shane. I can't argue with that. Thank you, Christina. Washington Wicks, you'll be in heaven. You know, I'll be in heaven. This is my dream cottage cabin one day. If I ever build a cabin in way upstate New York, man, I hope it smells a little bit like this. Or I could just buy the candle instead. Oh, what is this candle? I'm sorry. It's Fall Farmhouse. I apologize. I should be repeating the name as much as I can while I'm talking about these candles. So, as much as I want to talk about this, we have to move on. Let's read these fragrance notes. Spiced pumpkin. I knew it. I just... That's why I wanted to leave in that cinnamon, even though I didn't want to. To me, I would say nutmeg, because nutmeg can add to the woodiness without it actually smelling like baking spice. But I think by putting pumpkin spice here, I see it. But man, I just think that is just the wrong way to start the description of this candle. Forest pine branch. Okay. Again, I don't want it to look like I'm being negative. Forest pine branch. It just, let's give it more. Let's make it sound more majestic, right? Do we have to limit it to a branch? I mean, it's so massively foresty. This smells like so many different forms of wood and trees. Why do we have to just call it a branch? And pine, nonetheless. Fresh fall air. That I like. Fresh fall air because there is a crushed leaves, autumn leaves, foliage thing. Maybe even prettied up a little bit by those juniper berries. So fresh fall air, I feel like even though that's a vague description, it communicates the point. So you don't have to say leaves and twigs and mulch. Dang it, and that makes me think mulch. Can I say one more thing? Yes, man, yes. Okay, so Home Depot, wherever you go, Lowe's, I don't know, where do you buy your grilling, barbecue, or smoker products? Lighter fluid, more specifically, wood chips. Man, I can't believe I didn't get that. Let's say apple wood or cherry wood, not hickory smoke. It's not that. Hickory smoke reminds me of Witch's Cauldron. And this is not smoky. I'm talking about the raw chips. But next time you're in a place that has bags of wood chips for your smoker or grill, whatever you use them for, just poke a tiny little hole in the bag and give them a sniff. And if you work at Home Depot or Lowe's, I apologize. But a little hole is fine. Just a little hole. Give it a sniff. Very fragrant stuff. But I'm sure that description will provoke a lot of associations for people. Wow. Fall Farmhouse. And we have one more. How are we doing on time? We doing good? Branch doesn't do it justice. Fall Farmhouse. I apologize, guys. Yeah, I don't know if maybe I didn't even say the name. And Stephanie with the $4.99 super chat. Stephanie Hall, thank you so much. Stephanie, by the way, also just won a 2001 Yankee Candle. Again, this is a Bath and Body Works video. Maybe I shouldn't say it, but a Yankee Candle Halloween glow in the dark trick or treat candle from my own collection. Stephanie, I haven't forgot about you. I actually packed it up last night with a few extra goodies, and it will be sent to you tomorrow morning. Although, send me an email if you want me to delay it, because I'm seeing you say something about high 90s. I don't want to send it to you if it's hot. I can always wait a couple weeks. Oh wow, a lot of you guys were asking these questions. I just couldn't scroll down. Laura says, Siberian silver fir. I like the name of that tree. Sounds majestic. I like the word majestic. This is one I picked. Because myself and my sister-in-law, we both have a fascination with birch trees. In fact, she lives in Los Angeles, and she has a birch Christmas tree. That's how much she loves. It's a fake one, but that's how much she loves birch. And we kind of have this inside joke that when we're waiting for the Winnie the Pooh ride at Disneyland, the queue line is going to be made of birch limbs, logs, whatever you want to call them. But just a beautiful tree. One of my very first videos I created for this channel was on a birch themed fragrance. So let's give this one a sniff. Vanilla birch. See, that's what I'm not doing. I'm not properly announcing the candle. You see, when I'm editing my videos, I superimpose the picture of the candle over me speaking. I got to remember, this is not an edited video. Vanilla birch, and I'll repeat that as much as I can. Okay, so first thing that's coming through to me is, go figure, the wood, but this is a far less rustic approach than Farmhouse. Farmhouse was, like I said, you know, it was the sap, the freshness, the dryness, the concentrated nature, the juniper berries. Where this has more of a fresh timber aroma. Now, hear me out here. There's a little bit of Home Depot. What I mean by Home Depot, lumber, right? Is that a bad thing? No. But think about, instead of chopping down a tree, think of a saw, a blade. The difference between cutting wood in this fashion is friction, heat. When you use one like a circular saw, or even if you're using a handsaw, and you're creating that friction, you're creating that heat, it has that very specific smell of hot and even burnt wood and a little bit of sawdust. Now, that might not sound appealing, but that is just the base. It's something that we're going to start off with. I just want to show you that this is not that rustic style cedar or like balsam fir. No needles going on here, no vegetation, not much sap of anything like that. This is straight up timber, wood ready to be used to build. But then it is it's just going to be inoculated. You like that word? Inoculated with luxury. To me, unquestionably, in my mind, I'm in a house that's not mine. And the house has all white furniture. Everything is glass or chrome. Sparse in its furnishings, but very expensive pieces of furniture. Lots of windows, letting sunlight in. Possibly it's snowing outside. I'm just painting a portrait. But my idea of being in this location is that there is this overwhelming, luxurious feel to this candle. And it's not just being provided by the wood or the vanilla. Now let's talk about that vanilla. This is a strong, exotic vanilla bean. So let's take vanilla frosting, let's put it aside. Let's take soft serve vanilla ice cream, let's put it aside. We have to know that experience of taking an actual French vanilla bean, Madagascar vanilla, scraping out those seeds inside the pod and smelling that. That is vanilla, right? And also even like vanilla extract, even if it's the real stuff, pure vanilla extract. Once that stuff just smells like alcohol, it's great. It's great. I'm not saying anything bad about it, but like this is what I'm talking about. Like this is an authentic, untainted vanilla bean aroma. With a little bit of eucalyptus in there. Eucalyptus adds some greenness. Eucalyptus is weird because I don't ever know how, sometimes I think about eucalyptus and I think like, ooh, it's cooling, like mentholated. And is it not? It's somewhere in between. Sometimes I smell it and I'm like, oh, it kind of smells like lime zest. But does it not? Eucalyptus is one of those, what's the classification? Would we call it an herb? I really don't know. But it's one of those that there's really nothing like it. But my point is, it has that green. It has a little bit of this lime zestiness. Maybe that's bergamot. I'll let you guys decide on that one. I don't want to go on a limb, but it does smell kind of perfumey and cologne like. But we'll talk about that in a second. And so yeah, green and slightly cooling with a little bit of that lime. But this is lotion rich. Whatever a popular brand of oatmeal lotion is, right? Whatever, Aveeno. Is that a good brand? That's a good brand, right? It's a reliable brand. But, it just smells like that environment where, or a person who just wears a lot of hand lotion. To me, that's it's borderline musky. It's different from powdery, but it's a very feminine aroma to me. Again, that's subjective, but to me, a feminine, pretty aroma, but definitely lotion rich. I gotta do it, guys. Lavender. I don't know where that comes into play here, but lavender is just such a contemporary ingredient in perfumes and colognes. Actually, I find, just from my own research, that lavender is in contemporary days is in men's cologne more than it is in perfumes. I could totally be wrong about that, because it's not like I read up on this stuff all the time, but there is that smell of lavender that is just so familiar these days, and not just in perfumes and colognes, but in candles. Lavender seems to be making its way into everything. And there is a sweetness here other than the vanilla. Just give me a second to see if I can come up with something that's a little bit it's not too straightforward. And wait a minute. There is another candle after this, guys. I just thought of something. And as I'm smelling this, I'm like, wait a minute. I thought I had another confectionery candle. I think I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm forgetting that these are not in-depth evaluations. So, that eucalyptus, that little bit of mintiness that I found, we can contribute that to birch. Birch, if you've ever had birch beer before, it has a wintergreen flavor and aroma to it. So that's definitely a fitting ingredient. The vanilla is there in heaping amounts. But not a rustic, outdoorsy kind of wood. This is an interior setting, if you ask me. Refabrications. Smoky sounds nice, as my favorite candle is Bath & Body Works Marshmallow Fireside. Well, that is coming up next. I'm going to be very angry if I don't. And Emily's saying in depth, haha. Is that a poke of fun? Let's read these fragrance notes. Vanilla birch. White birch. White birch. Man, I just gotta, like, take a class. A class on trees. A class on wood. Gotta take a class. Madagascar vanilla. There we go. So Madagascar vanilla almost admitting to us that this is not vanilla extract. This is not vanilla frosting. When you say Madagascar vanilla, it's like saying French vanilla bean. But even French vanilla bean can be confused with ice cream. But Madagascar vanilla, again, vanilla bean, vanilla, it's a pod, really. Well, the beans are inside the pod. Warm sandalwood. Why didn't I say it? I wouldn't have said warm, but sandalwood. So usually when my mind goes to Home Depot, usually that's my trigger to say sandalwood, because I don't like saying Home Depot because it sounds like I'm making fun of the candle. But sandalwood is that fresh timber. So I'm really I think out of all of these candles so far, I'm really happy with these three descriptions. White birch, Madagascar vanilla, warm sandalwood. If you're only going to use three descriptions, I think those are the three to use. And it also does say with essential oils. So beautiful, beautiful label once again. I'm sure this collection has a name. I don't know, guys. This is what you're here for. Put that in the comments or in the chat area. There's a nice focus. Yeah, that's some really nice detail. And it is a plastic label, and you can see that it's blasted with heat. So the plastic kind of curves around the glass. So just be careful. Like right there, it's starting to peel. I'm one of those people who peels labels off of like water bottles. So be careful not to do that, because once you do that, you would take off the whole thing. But very nice candle. This is definitely a home fragrance candle. This is what I would classify. This is what you would burn in your house to add a little bit of affordable luxury in the form of aroma to your living space. Where is that last one? I hope it's in here, man. Oh, okay. Thank God. I really thought. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so there is 6 candles. I lost track of the number. Here it is. I got mixed reactions about this candle. But I didn't really hear any of the explanations. That label is insane, man. I mean, if we don't know already, that is cut out, so the light will shine through that lacing. Made with essential oils, Marshmallow Fireside, scented candle, Bath & Body Works. On top, we have that grain of that slab of wood. Really nice stuff. And this is has a gold tinge to the lid. Oh, don't want to look at the bottom. Marshmallow Fireside. You know, I don't know if anyone's watching American Horror Stories this season. I always end up watching it, if it's a good season or a bad season. But they're doing the whole Friday the 13th thing. And I caught up with the first episode last night. So I'm already in that kind of Friday the 13th mode. Campfire, marshmallows. So marshmallow. Okay, marshmallow, raw marshmallow. Yeah, right. You got it. Roasted, blackened crust of a marshmallow. You know, roasting over the fire. Yes. However, I question the authenticity of that roasted marshmallow. That's not necessarily a bad thing. There's something about it that makes me think roasted marshmallow, but it's not smoky. It's not caramelized. I don't smell smell caramel. I just smell like a really sweet marshmallowy aroma that is somewhat reminiscent to the aroma profile, other than the charred nature of a roasted marshmallow. Think about circus peanuts, not like peanuts that you got at the circus. Were they orange circus peanuts? You know, like the big fluffy Halloween candy peanuts. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, they were horrible when you were a kid, right? They're just god awful. And I think they were just marshmallow, but it just didn't really. It was more spongy than marshmallow. It wasn't as ooey gooey as marshmallow. It was more of a crumbly kind of marshmallow. And again, don't take any of this as I am making fun of the fragrance. I'm just trying to communicate what I'm smelling, and it just doesn't smell like the ooey gooey nature of a melted marshmallow. It smells like perhaps some other marshmallow products. We could say fluff if we want to go there. We could definitely say raw marshmallow. We're not going to say something like Lucky Charms. I wouldn't go there. What other marshmallows are there? And I am picking up on, hopefully I'm picking up on the wax aroma a little bit. Let me heat this up. But, you know, speaking of circus peanuts, I have to say it. You know, sometimes I want to edit myself, but I always regret doing it. There's a little bit of candy corn coming through, surprisingly enough. You know, and I think that has to do with, well, one, I was just thinking about circus peanuts and Halloween, but, you know, maybe like contemporary candy corn or gourmet candy corn, you know, made with all natural or real honey, whatever they call it, all natural honey. But, you know, back in the day, candy corn was stale, it was hard, you know, some years, you know, like, my parents would just put the remaining candy corn in a sandwich bag, put it in with the decorations, and then just put it back out the following year, because it wasn't meant for eating. It was meant for decoration. But back in the old days, you know, candy corn was really more of, I mean, it's just sugar, right? It's just sugar and whatever's holding it together. It was more of a vanilla frosting aroma. And that's what I'm getting. So I'm not embarrassed to say candy corn. Yeah, so there is some cologne aspects here. Of course, now I want to say sandalwood. And I wonder if that's what it is. So this is what I was going to say earlier about, and I forget who said it. Was it Danny who said that there's perfumey qualities in some of the Bath & Body Works candles? Sometimes you smell it, sometimes you don't when you burn it. But something I've been noticing, the more and more I smell of Bath & Body Works candles, and I did just purchase an enormous, I don't know why, but I purchased so much, like a huge selection of the fine mist spray. I mean, they all smell great, but I bought one. What was the pumpkin latte, something or other, right? Excuse my lack of knowledge, but although everything smelled like it was described, one thing that was consistent with, I at least got, I almost said 20. I got at least a dozen different body mist sprays. They all smell like, if not perfume, something that should be worn on the body. And I think this, from just being a newbie, just being, a person who's really looking deeper at what Bath and Body Works, would I be right to say, you guys tell me, would I be right to say, if we were to separate the difference between Bath and Body Works and White Barn versus something like Yankee Candle is, sometimes it's authentic and literal, what the candle is called. If it's called banana bread, it smells like banana bread. Sometimes it's called, one of the classic candles, Midsummer's Night, right? Where it smells like, the classic ingredients of men's cologne. It's beautiful, but that's more of a poetic candle. Where Bath and Body Works, whether it's literal or a poetic name, usually it's literal, meaning Marshmallow Fireside. It's telling you, the banana cream pie. It's telling you what the candle should smell like. It's not like Grandma's Kitchen, right? There's a few of those examples. But the difference between the two companies, again, let me know what you think, whether in the comments below or in the chat area, that even if we're talking about a bakery scent, a pie, a muffin, something fruity, that there's always this twist of home fragrance. It's not just, ooh, this smells like blueberry muffins in the kitchen. This smells like a blueberry muffin if that aroma was turned into a fragrance that we would put on our body or we would burn in a candle to put in our living room. It separates from the authenticity a little bit and takes more liberties towards making it smell a little bit more sophisticated or pretty or masculine or feminine, whatever it may be. Just think about I said the hand cream. I said the lavender. Even the farmhouse, fall farmhouse. I said moss, and oak moss is used in men's cologne all the time. There's a lot of sandalwood. Was another one that we said, and I'm trying to think of the PB&J if there was something in that, but it's. Would I be wrong to say, at least in part, that these sweet treat candles, at least the sweet treat candles, have a little bit of a twist to them that make them seem a little bit more perfume or cologne driven instead of the actual real thing, like blueberry muffin and nothing else? Would that be a wrong statement? It may be. How many candles have I smelled? As far as the firewood, I'll say a sandalwood, a borderline cologne quality. Just trying to go through the Rolodex in my mind. What else should I be looking for? It's just not smoky. It's just there's no smoke. I mean, this smells okay. So maybe this smells like a fire pit, an expired fire, but days expired. Not the end of the night when the fire's gone out. Like maybe we're at that summer camp. Jason Voorhees is lingering in the forest, or maybe we're on the beach, and you have that old 55-gallon drum that holds all the firewood, and you have the fireside, the beach fireside parties or whatever. I didn't grow up by the beach. I didn't do those sorts of things. I grew up in apple orchards where we did have bonfires, apple crates, But this smells more of like an expired fire pit that hasn't been used in quite a while. So ashy materials at the most, and fresh wood, but really nothing smoky. And even when I talked about that marshmallow, how there isn't that blackened, crusty, or even that perfectly roasted caramelized sugar of that marshmallow. But with that said, it's a very pretty fragrance. I'm going to read the notes here. Toasted marshmallow, smoldering woods. Smoldering woods. That smells like a forest on fire, or that sounds like a forest on fire. Smoldering woods, meaning an assortment of woods. Fire roasted vanilla. Wow. Not making fun. I'm going to say that one more time, but listen to this. Toasted marshmallow, okay. Smoldering woods. Fire roasted vanilla. These descriptions are supposed to make it easier for consumers to understand what the candle smells like. Crystalized amber. Yeah, this is a warm, thick candle. All right, so I'll give it that. And maybe a little bit of that cologne and that perfume is coming from some form of florals that are just kind of snuck in here to give it a little bit more sophistication and prettiness. I'm definitely getting that vibe from this candle. I would burn this. I would enjoy this for sure. But I think maybe I'm onto something, and I could be completely off. I think I'm onto something. The difference between Bath & Body Works people and maybe Yankee Candle people, or I think Yankee Candle people are looking for the true, authentic experience of exactly what it smells like, even if it smells a little bit off. Or not a little bit off, but a little bit off-putting, right? Where Bath & Body Works is more of this sophisticated... again, I'm going to use that word again, inoculated with a little bit of luxury to give you the experience of what the candle is called, but make it a little bit more, a little bit less authentic and a little bit more graceful and pretty and more of a product that you would call home fragrance. Maybe I'm onto something. Maybe I'm not. Personally, I smell smoke. Perfect combo of smoke and sweet, says Melissa. I'm going to hit this with some heat because I trust your guys' opinion. But I did not smell... I didn't smell smoke. I smell a whole lot of things that I associate with smoke. I just did not get smoke. But remember, our noses are all different, folks. If we want to settle on ashy, and even that's kind of pushing it for me. Scorched wood. Honestly, I think even I just kind of said that scorched wood. That word scorched is in my mind now. Smoldering woods. Like a piece of wood that got too close to fire and it kind of got singed a little bit. But yeah, I'm having a difficult time finding that smoke in any form. But again, our sensory evaluation or aromatic experience is completely unique from one nose to the other. So Marshmallow Fireside, that's going to be the last of the bunch. And I just want to thank everybody for joining in today. Remember, we are doing an after show. I'll answer any questions about these candles. It's going to be on my second channel, Aromatically Speaking. So you have to leave this channel. If you look in the description below, you'll find that link. and we'll chat. I also going to do a Halloween show and tell of a bunch of new things that I got. Some candle related things, some not. I'm gonna share some announcements, and I'll answer a bunch of questions. For you new folks who are joining in possibly for the first time, I beg you, hit that subscribe button. Please hit that subscribe button. You can always unsubscribe later, and we'll still be friends, but hit that subscribe button, because I have a lot of fun stuff coming up and a lot of really fun announcements to make, announcements that I've been waiting well over a year. Let's just say that, well over a year to make, and I'm finally feeling comfortable with making announcements. Some today, and then and weeks to come. So thank you for joining. Hit that thumbs up button, and I will see you folks soon. Sooner than you may think, if you go to Aromatically Speaking for the after show. That's if you're not watching football. I'll see you guys soon. Thanks for watching. Leave some comments. Which is your favorite Bath & Body Works candle of all time or of this year? What's your least favorite? And give me a story too.